final food for soon. But the three fellows that we have with us are very successful in their own right, and I will do some brief introductions, show you a little bit of information about each one of them, and then they'll tell you their story, and we'll have about 20-25 minutes for questions. All right? Okay. So first we have Angelo Greco of Doc Baker's Farm Relations, and he's moved from the pharmacy world to the world of raw, vegan, and organic juices and foods created to nourish the body and the soul and inspire us to eat better. His approach to food focuses on the right farming techniques and fresh ingredients, and his establishment is located in Doylestown. Hold on 1 second while technology moves. Next we have, sorry, never mind. Hold on. Technology is sometimes not my friend. Okay. Next we have John Colley of Inspire Socks. And John has created socks with inspirational and motivational messages for everyone from the athlete to the mathlete. Think it and be it. His road to success has interesting twists and turns, which he'll tell you about. And he's built Inspire Socks into a $12 million company. Maybe it's his socks which motivate him to do 100 push-ups every morning. So here's a little bit more about Inspire. And then we have Andrew Buckley of Big Q Barbecue and the Pineville Tavern. Andrew is a Bucks County Community College culinary alum, and this is his second time appearing for us in the speaker series. As Chef Andrew, he appeared on Diners, Dives, and Drive-Thrus.
You know where that is, but for a guy from California, I'll just say I'm 30 miles north of Philadelphia. To check out a joint in a building from 1742 and to try some of their snapping turtle soup. This is Pineville Panel.
Snapper soup, Bob?
It's great.
Very unique tasting soup.
Snapper soup?
It's actually made from snapping turtle. Not something you'd get in soup every day.
But you can get it every day here because it's a local favorite.
I love it.
Seriously.
Just don't call it turtle soup.
Turtle soup's from Louisiana. Okay, this is Pennsylvania snapper.
Get it straight, get it straight. And Drew Brucey out enough.
Muscles white over the green.
His dad Andrew owns the joint.
Great to see you.
And Drew's been working here since he was 6.
Rubbing pots, washing dishes,
And picking turtle.
and picking turtle.
Let's get our turtle.
Okay, we're gonna start with a spice mix.
Savory.
Add
See some coriander, allspice, little broken up bay leaf,
sage, clove.
and two.
This makes a tea.
Now how long will this steep?
30 to 40 minutes, and then we're just gonna strain it.
So the tea is done, and now
We're gonna make the snapper stock. Butter, chopped celery.
go a little bit of water on it.
Sweat the veggies down a little bit.
Pretty simple soup.
So far.
Whoa. Tricky.
Yeah,
This is all edible turtle.
absolutely. And this is where most of the meat comes from, here in the shoulders and the legs. So now we'll in the turtle.
Not a scene that you see every day on Triple D. Now the tea.
And now water. Now for 45 minutes from now, get that turtle meat nice and tender,
It's ready.
cooked and cooled right in the pan.
I'm afraid to ask what's the next step.
We're gonna pick the turtle out of the shell. It's going underneath.
Whoa. Yeah.
Shells off.
It's like you tore off the roof of a minivan. Look at that.
This is the breastplate here. Comes off.
Wow, it's like rubber.
And you want to try and move it as chunky as possible because we can always make it smaller later, but rustic is what you're going for.
Where are we at?
Put the soup together. We're going to start with some butter, 2 pounds, carrots, celery, onions, a mirror flour. Sweat the vegetables out of it, and then we're going to make a roux.
Go to the flour.
Plain water. We'll add in the snapper stock, tomato juice, dry cheddar, and you want to give it a nice hard whisk. Now we're going to add water, Worcestershire, cayenne pepper, white pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, salt,
And this,
kitchen bouquet. Now we'll bring it up to a simmer.
add the
In goes the turtle meat.
Chicken in the swamp.
We're gonna start with the paddle, not the whisker. We don't want to break up the meat too
No,
much.
we don't.
So we'll just bring that back up to a simmer, then we turn it off and serve.
It's turtle.
Couple dashes of that.
What is this?
Dry sherry. Chunky.
Chunky. The turtle's a little chewy for me, but come on, it's a turtle. But you got a nice gravy texture to it. I love the allspice. I love the tea that was made. That's the backbone. And I gotta tell you, I walked through this a little careful, but I will be very true with you. I like the savoriness of it. If you're looking to try something a little bit different, without question, you've gotta try the snapper soup.
Can everybody hear me? All the way back? We wait? All right. Did everybody notice how much younger and thinner I look? No, really, start your own business. It's great. My name's Drew. I've been in the restaurant business for as long as I can remember. My family bought the Pineville Tavern, which is right down on 413, back in 1989, probably way before most of you were born. I started washing dishes, as you heard, and just kind of worked my way out. My dad was always very specific about making sure that I earned what I got. You know, made minimum wage, washing dishes, prep cook. Eventually, I was a waiter, bartender, so on and so forth. I'm a Bucks County Community College grad, associate's degree in culinary arts, Earl Arrowwood, great program amongst all the other people. Then I went to the University of Delaware. There's a couple of hands back there. Blue Hen. Least intimidating mascot. But we had Joe Flacco. These guys. Anyway, so I went there. I got a degree in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management. So I learned the other side of the thing, of the experience. Love some of it. Really dislike the accounting part of it. It's not my thing. You have to learn everything if you're going to get into that. I came home. My father insisted I wanted to take over the Pineville. I was like a mad scientist. I knew everything. I was going to fix everything. Everything was going to be great. And my father kicked me out. Sent me to New York for 6 months. I worked for two big restaurateurs. One is Jeffrey Chodorow, who is probably the most successful real estate person in the restaurant business. And then Danny Meyer, who is probably the most successful restaurateur of the restaurant business. He owns Gramercy Tavern, Union Square Cafe, among 12 other restaurants that are all very, very well known for being successful and legitimate in my industry. After that, I came home, took over the Pineville. Fast forward about 5 years, and a very large addition to the building later. It's just skipping over a lot, but about a year ago, I had an idea for a concept that was tested at the Wrightstown Farmers Market. Wrightstown Farmers Market is right down on 232 between April and November. We started doing barbecue. Basic stuff, brisket, pulled pork, ribs, all the things you see on TV now on every other channel. We had an opportunity to open a place which has been open for about 4 months or so. It's in Levittown. It is right on the corner of Woodburn and Bristol Oxford Valley Road, right down the street from the Oxford Valley Mall. Some of you might know it as the old Checkers. It was a Checkers for like about an hour and a half. But yeah, so that's you know on the entrepreneurial side. Again, that's kind of my background. I've worked at a lot of cool places. I have a lot of really cool experience. I think that's really key to being an entrepreneur is your experience, even if they're negative. It's important to take away education from that, what you're doing here. So.
Thank you.
I'm just used to standing and talking. My name is John Paul, and I'm the CEO and founder of Inspire Socks. This is definitely not my first rodeo. I am a career entrepreneur. I actually had my first job in 5th grade. I would go from my little Catholic school and I'd walk around the block to Chestnut Hill Hospital, and I'd go to the gift shop, and I'd collect 40 to 50 daily newspapers. I'd stick them in my little satchel, and I had my little clipboard, my little clip chain of change, and I'd go knock on every single door in the hospital until I sold every one of those papers. I sold them for 15 cents. Well, actually, I sold them for 17 cents. It cost me 15 cents. I was hoping I would get a tip. I'd give you a quarter, I had 8 cents. At the end of the day, on Saturdays, I would meet the truck driver at the hospital on my own. I would tally up the bill. I would pay him. I would keep the difference. I was in 5th grade. Now, it seems a little crazy right now because no one would ever do that. You wouldn't even send your children there. But I was extremely creative. I loved to build, and I loved making money as a child. So I had a lot of friends. I always had money in my pocket. I would knock on kids' neighbors' doors, ask if I could pull weeds. So I knew growing up that, and this goes against all the college things, that I was not an academic type person. I was constantly thinking about producing something. It didn't matter. 8th grade, I was thinking about something was going on when the teacher was talking. I probably had a little bit of ADHD, 795, I don't know what you want to call it. But I was ready to go. I did 2 years in college and I could not wait to leave. I called my parents from Rockhaven University and said, I cannot do this anymore. I want to start working. I learned a trade. I knew that I was not ready for a suit and tie, so I went and I learned a trade and I became a stonemason. I carved stone and I made a decent amount of money. In 1989, I started my own company for $400 in a pickup truck. And my dad bought me the pickup truck. So I was on my way. And I was always a great talker. I could always engage with people. So it was easy for me to sell. I knew how to do it because I had good hands. And I was always creative. So I started my company and I made it up to 13 people, which now someone else runs for me. We do $1.5 million in gross sales, and I don't even run the company. I get a check every Friday. So that wasn't enough for me. I learned so much in the masonry field that I learned contractors would help me build, so I started building warehouses. But I didn't do any work. I was good at selling, so I talked the bank into giving me the money, and then I'd use the money to pay for the contractors. I'd buy the land, I'd get the lawyer, I'd go to the township, I'd build the property. I still own them all. I own 21 warehouses in Montgomery County, and I rent them out. Guess what? I hired somebody else. They run that business for me. Crazy enough, you would think that would be enough for me, but it wasn't. So I started a skateboard company. It was called Bamboozle. And it was bamboo and maple boards. I love skateboarding. I still skateboard today. But you know what happens sometimes when you're an entrepreneur and you want to find a partner? You got to pick the right one. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you have to understand one thing. You're not going to get paid for it. You're going to have to work your butt off. And you're going to have to give it at least 15 hours a day. But you know it, so it doesn't really matter too much. It doesn't cause this, oh God, I have to put 15 hours in a day. No, it's just something you like to do. But I had gotten certain partners that didn't think the same way. So that business did not work out. I actually went to the Phillies and I had an idea about selling iced coffee and cream coffee at Phillies because I drink coffee. I don't drink, I don't smoke. So I've been actually sober for 16 years. So this creative and addictive personality that I have, I turned it into something else. So I went to the Phillies and I did a presentation for the Phillies and they loved it. Aramark loved it. And at the last minute, my sales projections were not big enough for them and they shot me down. But you know what, guys? You're going to get shot down. You're going to start a business. You got to have the passion and the purpose and the product. But it may not work out, and that's okay. Because you know what? There's a million other things to do as well. So when the Phillies called me, man, I was devastated. I was, oh man, it's a lot of money. The Phillies were winning, right? My projections were on 45,000 fans. Now what? 18,000 show up. So you know what? That worked out real well for me. It didn't work out at all. I didn't spend any money.
So, John, you know what I'm going to say?
What's that?
You know what I'm going to say?
You're not going to stop me, right?
I'm going to tell you to put a sock in.
Put a sock in. Oh man, so my last one, I got to put a sock in. I knew I had not found my career passion. So one day, I was in the beach, I was walking with my wife with a coffee again, real quick. And I looked in the retail store, and I had shirts. And a Dallas Cowboy fan, and a New York Giants fan. And they were giving each other the finger. And I didn't look. All these little kids were standing around me, and they were looking at the same thing I was looking at. And I said to my wife, I said, why don't we put an entrepreneur message on these shirts? This is one of my original shirts, and that's why I wore it. And on the back it says, never give up by Jimmy Bell. And that's when I started Inspire Socks. T-shirts didn't work because they're a dime a dozen. Socks, everyone knows them. Everyone has to wear them. The kids don't. So I wanted to get kids thinking young about being entrepreneurs. I want you guys all to be entrepreneurs. It is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Of course, I have a long story too, but I'm
Got to talk about things.
I'll talk really fast. You can tell he's very passionate, and that is one key. I look at that sign over there. Enjoy is a really great word because you really have to enjoy what you do. You have to love what you do. When you love that, that gives you the fuel to take your passion. Most of my life I've worked for small business or own businesses. I had chances to work for big businesses. You can take your passion to big business, but it moves a lot slower. And when you're passionate, you can't wait. You can't wait to get things out. I was lucky enough to grow up in a drugstore. Don Baker's was named after a pharmacist that was from the 1800s that my father had purchased in the 1950s. But when I grew up, I didn't know what pharmacy was. We sold more newspapers than we did prescriptions. I learned how to play pool, pinball in a drugstore. Of course, we had what we called, Coca-Cola was discovered in a drugstore, so we had what was called luncheonettes. So that was my first taste of food. It was my first taste of as far as our family, as far as getting into the food business. If anybody asks you about one of the worst businesses to pick, it's food, because it requires a lot of work, hours are long, and you're always going to be the last one leaving. And the spoilage is there, but the passion will take you past there. So when I was in, say, high school, that was a determining factor for me. My first choice as a profession, where my passion was at that time. It's very hard because when you're young, you think you know what you want to do, but you don't always. It's really about opportunity, and you get that opportunity to say, this is the moment that I've been waiting for. So in my story, I was going to go into photography, and I was going to work for, I was into business because I grew up in it. I wanted to work for a company called Kodak, and you know where that is today. So that would have been a passionate choice, but a wrong choice. It was a big company. I wanted to work with a big company because I grew up in a small company. But my counselor said, why don't you go to pharmacy? And I said, fine, I'll go to a profession that I know what it's about. And what I found out is when you get into a profession, you see the nitty-gritty. Sometimes that turns you off, but I knew the truth about pharmacy. But I took my passion through pharmacy. And our company, for example, in Pennsylvania has changed the laws of pharmacy. Some of the big chains have taken our ideas as a small company and grown them to big ideas. So I've learned things from how big companies took our ideas and made them bigger. So there was lessons to learn along the way. Yes, did we have disappointments? Yes. But we always turned around. One thing that we always remember is always to be nimble, to change with the market. Because when we were when our stores were first out there, we were a very big drugstore. When we saw the writing on the wall, you have to look at the market, where's it going? We decided to sell our pharmacy for CVS. Our pharmacy in Pennsylvania was the first CVS pharmacy. That's how big our store was. We decided to scale it back to smaller apothecaries. We took $9,000. It was in 1990 and grew a chain of 7 stores. Through that time, we bought and sold stores. That's how you make money in business, buying and selling. Whether it's product, whether it's business, this is what you do. With our passion through those stores, we knew when the right time to sell it, and we knew at the same time when the right time was to leave that business and move on to a new passion. So as my diet changed, I needed a place, what I said, to eat and feed my body and my soul. So I decided, why not take pharmacy back to where its roots were, and that was food. So that's where we got to Doc Baker's and get nutrition from food instead of medicine. And being within that profession, I see what's going on. I tell you, most of my colleagues wonder how I could do it, and I say, listen, there's one way you do it. You get rid of your things to trade for passion. It's really about things and passion. If you want things, go for corporate. If you want passion, start from the ground up.
is Rebecca Riscotti, and she is the inventor of City Kitty, one of the best-selling products from Shark Tank. You may have heard of that little show. Not content to stop with just one product, she developed other products such as the Woody Pillow and Blanket Tails. She has also created the top-down planner, which earned her a second appearance in front of the Sharks. Here's an update on City Kitty.
Last season, Rebecca Riscotti made a deal with Kevin Harrington for her toilet training system for cats, City Kitty.
20% 100,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see what she's up to now.
I'm here with Rebecca, the creator of City Kitty, and we're so excited. We're launching in Walgreens today.
When I launched this company 6 years ago, this was my dream for City Kitty, to see the product sitting on the shelf. Since going on Shark Tank, the sales have gone through the roof and the manufacturer is running around the clock.
We recently launched an infomercial spot, which now gives us the ability to sell the product directly to the consumer, sitting at home.
Before Shark Tank, City Kitty had only $100,000 in sales a year, and now City Kitty is breaking $1 million this year alone. Sales keep going up. I just cannot believe it. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Shark Tank.
Jason. This doesn't like me.
That's me and Phil here. So yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company at the age of 24. It was City Kitty. I was a regular consumer living in a small apartment in New York City in 100 square feet, and I had a cat. And I had a family member whose cat could toilet train themselves, and I thought, oh, if that cat can toilet train themselves, then maybe I can toilet train my cat Samantha. And I just looked online, and there was people talking about how to do it. There's a lot of people like in forums and stuff talking about how to toilet training. And I took that information, and there wasn't a kit you could buy. We had to cobble together something. So I cobbled together this device to toilet train Samantha. She started going back into the toilet, and I called my friends and said, you have to get over here at 6 a.m. is when she goes back. And I was like so blown away by the fact that this cat was using the toilet. And I knew then that I wasn't the only cat owner in the country that would want to toilet train their cats. Having a litter box really sucks. I mean, 1 in 3 households in the United States has a cat and all has a litter box. It's really gross. So I thought, oh, let me see if I can make a device and see if I can sell it online. I called it City Kitty, and I launched that business when I started working at the age of 24. I launched it at 25. And within weeks, I was putting in my resignation at the marketing company, the software company I was working at, marketing, and I took on City Kitty full time. And it was an amazing learning experience for the first 5 years of business. I mean, I didn't go to school, I didn't get a degree in business. I was just learning along the way. 6 years in, I was able to do an appearance on the TV show Shark Tank. And that was great because it took sales over $1 million a year for this simple $30 product. I sold hundreds of thousands of them around the world. And from there, you know, just as you gather this business experience, you're able kind of to expand and to become and make quicker decisions and become more successful. So I invested in another company called Woody Pillow, and then that's the company I actually went back on in season 4 for Shark Tank. I had 3 appearances total on the show. And that was tremendous for Woody Pillow because it was enabled Woody Pillow to break the $1 million barrier because it was on the TV show. But then again, not being enough, in 2014 I launched another product called Top Down Planner, which helps people figure out goal planning, because I saw a void in the marketplace that planners didn't really help people plan. They actually helped them to schedule their time and to make a better planning advice. So that was in 2014, and my goal when I launched Top Down Planner was to take this thing and to share it with the world. But I got busy and distracted with another company in 2015 that I founded with 2 partners right now called Blanket Tails. So today, you know, I own 4 businesses. I love creating problem-solving consumer goods, and I, you know, feel like I found my niche, and I love it a lot of fun, and I'm excited to be here. I love what you want to do.
First, I open it up for questions. I'm just going to remind you that you have a survey on your chair, and do not leave without completing that survey and turning it in to one of the lovely door attendants that will stop you and frisk you and demand a survey before you leave. So if you ask a question, we have a supply of Inspire socks that you could walk away with a pair of socks if you ask a question. So we'll open it up now.
Good question. My question's for Rebecca. Were you approached by Shark Tank, or did you, what was that process like trying to get seen by the TV show?
Yeah, I was. I've always used press as an outlet just to try to sell my goods and my products. So my products have been on Good Morning America, the Today Show, SNL Show, and pretty much any national TV show the product has been on. And I had a producer that had contacted me after seeing an article that I was in on CNN and weird ways to make money. And so the producer had contacted me to be on the show, and he said, calling from the show Shark Tank, and started pitching the show to me. And this was after season 1 had aired. And I said, of course I know the show, and I'm familiar with it. That's why I had to apply, because I don't need any financing. I said, well, this will be the most amazing piece of exposure you can get. You can make connections that you've never had before. So do the show, not necessarily for the money, but do it for the exposure. And so I filmed season 2 for the show. And then the repeat appearance with Cody Bill was because I was already connected with the producers of the show, and they were contacting me saying, give it to me, and I said, well, I'm trying to start a business. And the story was interesting. You have somebody like me who goes on the show, and the shark invests in me, and then I take my money and invest in somebody else. So that's how I got the second appearance, was the angle to the press.
Courage.
Anybody else?
Yes. There are socks on the line.
I'm sorry I didn't get your name. The second person from. Okay. I'm Roland C. My question is, can you please tell me how you generated your starting capital? Because I didn't get it actually. Can you?
How?
Yeah.
Well, so pharmacists by nature, I was able to save some money through my investments in pharmacies. We had 7 pharmacies. As we divested them and sold them, that gave us capital to start a new business. And that's one of the ways to start a business, by going into another business and then bouncing off that business and using that money to invest in another business. So we got the money from another sale of another business, a pharmacy business. And in fact, that pharmacy business was sold twice in 2 years. So there was over $250,000 made in that business, just in profit. So that was enough seed capital to start. But also growing up in the business world, there's two sides to the balance sheet, cost and revenue. So you have to keep an eye on both. We're able to keep an eye on cost. At the same time, you have somebody to market the business. So you need to grow it. You need to get out and be running fast as far as I'm concerned. So they were able to do that with that money.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We've got plenty of stuff. So torn. Chris, you're next. Bill really wants to stop.
The question is about the Inspire sauce. From when you got the idea to your first produced one, what were some of the steps? How did you contact? How did you do a test run? How did you develop?
Great question. So I really utilize the internet, because I'm not in the power business. I've learned everything on the go. And it didn't work out as well the first time. That's a great question, because the first company that I met in San Diego by the name of Profane Apparel, she was a broker in California. She was in the apparel business. And I did the designs. I knew the words that I wanted. She did the designs. She sent the prototypes to Korea, and then we got the prototypes back, and I okayed them. And then I placed my first, what I call, audience building order. But lo and behold, you know, if you don't have an eye on things and you don't have people in that country or boots on the ground, as I say at the factory, the second order that came in were defective. And 6 of my 12 designs I could not even sell. I gave them to homeless shelters. I still give them out to charities. So that was an issue. So I did fire her, and then I learned so much going forward with really her. She did teach me a lot. I can't take that away from her. I came back to America and found my own factory, but again, unfortunately, I did not have luck with this factory because I could see the writing on the wall was not going to be able to scale the business. So this is a very scalable business that I could take globally. And the manufacturer that I found was just not able to do that. I traveled to North Carolina, found another factory. The quality wasn't what I wanted. Networking is so important when you're an entrepreneur. I will tell you right now, the more you network, the more people that you know, you'll find your answers. I found the answers to one of my tenants. He was a professional sourcer of Chinese goods. So I found a company in China that is in Shanghai. They found the most incredible factory for me, and now I have boots on the ground. They work for me. It's all incorporated in the cost of my stocks. They watch everything for me from overseas.
I mean, that happens to everybody. The same thing happened to me with our first run of putting pillows. I got the travel pillows, which I presented on the show that I had this new product. I got my first run of 10,000 in, and the hoods were like miniature. Like we had approved one thing, and these hoods were so small they were leaving like bits of fabric on people's heads when they were wearing them, and they were all sold. And I actually had to ship them out to consumers and just say and hope that nobody was going to really put up bad reviews. And they even forgot to make one by the time they got them. So that, I mean, always, it happened. I hear everybody that manufactures these, like the first run, it's usually not exactly the same.
Unfortunately.
This question is for Rebecca. In regards to the show, what do you think was more helpful growing the business? Do you think it was the advertisement you got from just being on the show alone, or the perks and benefits of working hand in hand with the, I'm not sure, familiar with his name. Was his connections and everything more beneficial than you think the advertisement from the Shark Tank show itself?
Yeah, I would say the most beneficial thing was really the exposure from being on the show. So at the time, when the seasons I was on, it was an audience of 4 to 7 million, and my products and episodes have repeated a total of like 30 times. I think I just had a repeat episode this morning on CNBC for the city. I mean, they're constantly repeating like almost bi-weekly. So that has kept, I mean, generating millions of dollars for my businesses just from the exposure alone. As far as investments are concerned, when you're dealing with a show like Shark Tank or you're dealing with an investor, these people are investing in the business. They're not necessarily partners in the business, they're investing in the company and giving you capital. I've never needed that, and so I wouldn't use this route to help people grow your business to the next level because they're really just investors, even though the show kind of positions them differently. And I think partnerships can be the key to grow some companies, but I also think that when you start out, you do need to learn a lot of things on your own. I didn't start my first business partnership until I was 6 years in with my business partner as well. And I think it was more important for me to learn and make mistakes on my own before going into a partnership. Because you don't want to start a partnership if you don't really know what you're doing anyway. It starts off more fun.
This question is for Drew. Was there a particular marketing strategy that you use that generates more visibility than other strategies?
As far as just in general?
Yeah, just marketing strategies.
The thing about the restaurant industry is that it's a very flooded market, right? They're constantly, one of the things I'm going through right now, for instance, is the development of a brand. We started a concept restaurant, a barbecue restaurant, as a concept restaurant. There's no fast food barbecue restaurants necessarily with a drive-through. Barbecue has a very solid reputation for being something that is kind of cut right in front of your eyes and put together, and you sit down and eat it and all that stuff. Well, the concept, so to speak, that we just came up with is that you get it in the bag. It gets passed through a window to you, or it just gets handed to you. We don't have any real indoor seating, so to speak. We've got 15 seats inside, like Steve's Prince of Stacy, Route 1. So in developing a brand like that, I'm sure everybody can attest to who's sitting up next to me, you pay a lot of people to help you come up with the concepts and marketing of what to do. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. You have to believe in yourself. The marketing concepts that we're going through right now, and what we've learned from it is, although we are a fast food restaurant, and this is just for one of the places, but although we are a fast food restaurant, everything is made from scratch. Constantly being put up next to each other as perceived value, which has been talked about a couple of times, as McDonald's or Wendy's or anything like that. Well, that stuff's coming from a factory, being heated in the microwave. We're making things from scratch, we're doing things here and there. So getting out there and really producing commercials that show that sort of thing and connecting with the community is one of the most important things. Although this is something that is kind of all over on a small scale, eventually it'll be on a much larger scale. But we have to get out there and make ourselves known, make ourselves prominent, and focus on the quality. It's the most important thing in my business is forget about how much it costs. We've always operated, the Pine Tavern's always operated on a basis that, the food costs on that 60%, it's unheard of. Well, you can't just focus on the price. You have to focus on what's important to the customer, not just what's important to you. What we call lost leaders in the business. If you have things like lost leaders, which we have a lot of, you have to promote the things that aren't. But that's, again, most importantly, is just focusing on what the customer wants without becoming something different than you want to be, I guess is what it is.
This is for Inspire Socks. When you were starting to spread the word about your socks, did you have people that were did you sponsor people to wear your socks? Say a famous dancer that always gets it's all visual so people would see your socks. What did you do for that?
Well, to get going, of course, what do we all use, right? We use social media. Because I come from the old school where if you're going to put on a play, you open up the curtains, you better have an audience. You have a great play, you're going to be standing there. You have no one to show the play. So we use social media right at it. And we're not experts. So I reached out to some experts. Unfortunately, you know what? You just made a great point. It didn't work out. They were not for me. When you don't have, I had to learn everything. Right? I came from masonry, real estate, and power. So I didn't know the business. You can't trust me. So I can give you a little advice. Do your research on that person that you're going to try to trust. Get those references. Sometimes we get real excited about moving forward, and we don't do our due diligence as well as we should. So we started out with social media, and it really worked well. But you have to be on it. You have to be scheduled. Then we got into an ambassador program, right? Coming from the skateboard business, and you had to have a skate team to ride my boards, right? So the same thing we did. So we had a whole ambassador program. They wear our socks. They're required to have we have a guidelines for them. They got tweet, we got Instagram, we got Pinterest, they got shout us out, they got wearing socks, they got take photos. So yeah, absolutely, man. You know what? And when you have a food product like this, gives the people dig, so they want to wear it, they want to rock it, they want to talk about it. I'm selling inspiration. You gotta let that go?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's great.
And it was easy to get people on board. So now, we had a big story on TMZ about Tim Tebow coming on board, and we're negotiating with Tim right now. So when that hit TMZ.com, then our emails just blew up. All these people now that want to come on board. And you know what it got back to? It's all about networking. So I found a publicist who loved my story because his brother had been bullied as a kid and he was special needs. And he reached out to me because he loved my message and what it was all about, empowerment. He wanted to help me. Well, I would have never done that if I didn't find him on Twitter. Through another guy I found on Twitter. So it's getting out there, it's doing it every single day. Don't think you're going to start a business and not do it every day. You think I work Saturdays and Sundays? All the time. But I love it. I got my kids thinking this way. I do. I have a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and 10-year-old. And we all think the same. They're all working this Sunday. So that's what we do. We get it out there, be resilient. But when you talk about the passion first. When you talked about the passion. You did, right? That's what it is. It's inside of us. So we love what we're doing. And we were supposed to talk about highs and lows, and I'll put it down. Highs and lows, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, man. If your stomach's not ready for it, maybe you just go baby step into it. But I had done it as a young kid, so it didn't really hit me over the head. there's going to be failures. Get down to one knee, but never fall down. Get back up.
Just to touch on, just say, there are things that aren't going to work. I mean, my family and I have opened 7 restaurants over the past 15 years. We've sold 3 of them. 2 of them were a complete bust, and 2 of them, the real estate was worth more than the business. There are times I had highs and lows. I had a low 15 minutes before I walked through that door today. I had a very, very important person come and have a terrible experience at one of my restaurants first thing this morning. When I say very important, like the kind of person who can either make me $250,000 over the next 9 months or cost me my business. Now, luckily, because of a reputation that I have built for myself, it was understood, we talked about it, we're going to go have a meeting after we're done here, but there are times when you have to walk into a room full of people and tell them how great it is to be an entrepreneur, and you get hit in the face with a baseball bat before you walk in the door. It's like, hi everybody. It's tough, it's really difficult. But you learn to deal with it, like I said, you have to have thick skin, and most importantly, and it sounds as corny as anything I've ever said, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in yourself.
And that's it. If you don't believe in yourself, don't bother. Really, don't bother.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions.
My question for Rebecca. If you did have the Shark Tank opportunity, what, I guess, plans would you have for someone who really an idea off the ground?
If I didn't have it?
Yeah. How would you get here?
Well, I mean, I did it for 6 years without anything like Shark Tank, and I got lots of press and stuff for my businesses. I think one of my favorite words to use was to stay nimble. So I like to test the market. I like to launch with prototypes and to see what sticks. And I think the big goals and big dreams can be accomplished if you just start with small baby steps. So, for example, the company that I just launched recently, Blank Details, it's this sleep sack made out of Mindy fabric with a blanket. It's got a mermaid tail on it or a shark tail on it. And my 2 business partners and I just thought it was a cool idea. We saw a trend that was happening on Facebook, and nobody was really serving the market with a mass-produced product. And you'll get my example in a second. But so we joined together. We made a prototype, literally cut and sewed. Went to Joann's, got fabric, cut and sewed. One of the moms did it and made this mermaid tail. We made the branding because that's what my business partner does, and I actually studied graphic design in college. With $100, we made a prototype, launched a website, and to date we've generated nearly $2 million in sales of this particular product. And that all started from making a $100 prototype from Joann's and using the skills that we've had and what we've learned over the last decade, each of us, and crafting the best, cheapest route to make the best brand we possibly can. And so it started with $100. So I think anybody can do it regardless of the money. You use the skills that you have. And this gentleman was talking about how it's one of his best skills is people skills. Take advantage of the things that you're naturally good at and just focus on them and use them in your business. One of the things that I'm good at is crafting stories. So I use press to get people to talk about my product. So like before Shark Tank, it was on Good Morning America, and I've been in the Wall Street Journal 4 times, which is a goal of mine. Use the skills that you have at your disposal that you're naturally good at and use them to your advantage in your business. And then sometimes that will carry you over the things that you're not so good at.
All right, last question.
This is a question kind of for the whole board. When you were first starting your businesses, were you leaning towards more giving a percentage of your business or a percentage of the profit, or how were you paying your employees in the very beginning?
In the beginning, well, in the masonry business, you get paid at the end of the job, so that was easy to enter that business. It's a service industry. So I actually did it by myself, and I slowly got employees. Real estate, I didn't have any employees, I had a property manager. Now, I have 2 employees right in the back, and somebody else is at my office now. I still only get X amount of dollars. Then my vice president is more than me. That's okay, because I know that the end is going to be the big payoff for me. So I got investors. So I learned real quick that it's really hard to use all your money. I had money from my other businesses, but I wanted people to believe in me, and they do. So I got investors on board, and now, talk about Tim Tebow wanting to come board. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but he wants a percentage of my company. Now that could make me a super millionaire because Tim Tebow comes on board and opens every single door in this country for me. because everybody knows him. Anybody not know him? Right? Every age group we have in here, and we all know who he is. So I may give him a little piece, it depends on what he wants. Everything's negotiable when you're your own business. When you're the owner, everything's negotiable. So I may be willing to do that, but I also found investors. So they help. I'm not going to take up all the time.
I didn't start with any employees. I solely ran syndicating by myself for 5 years. And so really any of the profits left over at the end of the year was my income. My goal when I started my business, or I was working at a software company, I was making $50,000 a year. My goal was to replace my income. And based on the initial sales of the product, within a month I realized I could replace that income of $50,000 a year from the profits that City Heating was generating. And I survived, I have always been surviving off the profits of the company. I pay myself a small salary and then I take dividends out of the business when you can afford it. An example though, what I'm dealing with right now with my details, I need so much capital to run the company. I'm not making, I'll have to pay taxes on the income at the end of the year, but I cannot pull the capital out of the business because the business needs so much capital to run right now. So it depends on the size of it too. From what I do, I run my business, it's very small. I don't have a lot of overhead. I don't have a restaurant. I don't need a lot of inventory. So it really depends on the company that you're running.
From my perspective, having multiple businesses, employees are really one of your best investments. So you want to surround yourself with good people. And like John was saying, sometimes you'll pay them more so that you can grow your business. The business is a life of its own, so you want that to grow. So if you surround yourself with great people, whether it's public figures, somebody that knows more than you do about something else, it's going to make you grow faster. In the end, you get the profit. So that's part of the sacrifice, and that's part of the excitement, because as an employee, you have a limited amount of capital. As an owner, it's endless. But you take the other risk. It's risk and reward benefit.
As much as I have a new business, I also have 2 young kids. And I think everybody will agree up here that the younger the business is, the more expensive it is. The more attention it needs. I always relate it to an infant or a toddler constantly following it around saying, don't put that in your mouth, don't stick that in your ear, don't hit your sister, stop playing with this, don't pull your hair. It requires a lot of attention and it requires a lot of money. As entrepreneurs, I think we're all in it again for the profits. All 4 of us are going to say that. At the end of the year, I pay myself a very small salary for both businesses. But again, it's that concept of constantly believing in yourself and knowing that at the end of the year you're going to have enough money to replace the $50,000 salary or to offset your expenses here and there. The restaurant business is totally different than, say, most of the other businesses because there's so much upfront. I'm also in construction too, which I won't even get into that, but the reason why we were always in construction, you had to do the job and then you got paid 30 days later. The restaurant business is the opposite cash flow of that. So the reason we started the restaurant business in the first place was because we got the money right away when we bought all of our food on 30-day terms. So you don't owe those bills until, so then you start getting into cash flow where you got, week over week. I mean, a restaurant like the Pine Hill Tavern does $5 million a year, but if we divide that by 52 weeks, we're definitely not doing the median right now. It's right before the holidays, people aren't spending money, so on and so forth. So you have to kind of take it where you can get it. But again, believe in yourself and know that you're going to get it eventually.
Great. Thank you all so very much for giving us your time.